All right, so today we're going to be diving into something pretty cool.
Oh.
I think fantasy calendars.
Ooh.
You know those really intricate systems of timekeeping that can give a fictional world?
Yeah.
That real sense of history and depth, and we're going to be using
Right.
Ginny Dye's YouTube video as a jumping off point for this deep dive.
Oh, cool.
She really got me thinking about
Mm-hmm.
how calendars can be so much more than just a way to track days and months,
Yeah.
especially when you're crafting a world for your writing.
I think that's true. I think calendars can be
Yeah.
really powerful world-building tools. They
Yeah.
can really help ground your stories in a believable reality,
Hmm.
even if that reality involves dragons and magic.
Exactly. So often in fantasy writing, I think we get so caught up
Right.
in the epic battles and the fantastical creatures,
Yeah.
but we forget about the little details that make a world feel truly lived in.
Right.
And a calendar, believe it or not, can be one of those crucial details.
Yeah, think about it. A calendar shapes daily life, cultural practices, even religious beliefs.
Yeah.
It influences everything from when farmers plant their crops to when people celebrate their holidays.
Right. It's like the backbone of your world's culture.
Yeah.
And Ginny Dye really emphasizes that in her video.
Uh-huh.
She uses this great example of building a calendar around a nature spirit
Oh, wow.
that changes with the seasons.
That's a fascinating concept. By tying the calendar
Yeah.
to a cyclical deity,
Yeah.
she's not just creating a system of timekeeping,
Right.
she's also establishing a core element of the world's mythology and belief system.
And she does it in such a creative way. Instead of the traditional 4 seasons,
Right.
she divides the year into 2 main seasons,
Right.
the green season and the ice season,
Uh.
based on plant growth and weather patterns.
Okay.
I thought that was a really clever way to simplify the calendar
Yeah.
while still creating a sense of these natural cycles.
It's a great example of how we can challenge conventional thinking when it comes to world building. Yeah.
Why stick to the familiar 4 seasons
Right.
if it doesn't serve your world's specific climate or mythology?
Exactly. And then she breaks those seasons down further into subseasons.
Okay.
Green dawn, green dusk, ice dawn, and ice dusk.
And I like that.
These names immediately evoke
Yeah.
vivid imagery and set the tone for each part of the year.
Those evocative names are so important. They make the calendar feel more immersive.
Yeah.
And give readers or players an intuitive understanding of the world's climate and rhythms.
And I love how she ties those seasons to the different forms of her nature spirit.
Okay.
So you've got the playful green dawn child ushering in spring,
Oh.
followed by the more mature green dusk maiden symbolizing summer's bounty.
It's almost like a coming-of-age story
Yeah.
woven into the fabric of the calendar.
Right.
And it raises some interesting questions.
Yeah.
How do these different forms of the spirit influence the world's magic?
Mm-hmm.
How do people perceive and interact with this deity throughout the year? That's what I found so exciting about Ginny Dye's approach.
Yeah.
It's not just about creating a calendar for the sake of having one.
Right.
It's about using it as a springboard for storytelling.
Absolutely. The calendar becomes a source of conflict, a driver of plot,
Yeah.
and a way to create truly unique characters and creatures whose lives are intertwined with these cyclical changes. And that's where the real magic of this approach comes in, like how you can weave this calendar into your narrative and really bring your world to life.
So how do we actually use this calendar in our writing?
Right?
Because I can already see some potential pitfalls. Like,
Yeah.
do we need to meticulously track every single day
Right.
our characters are traveling or every holiday
Yeah.
that passes during their adventures?
Not necessarily. I think it's about finding that sweet spot between realism and narrative flow. You don't want to bog down your story
Right.
with excessive details about dates and timelines,
Right.
but you also don't want to ignore the calendar altogether.
So it's more about using it as a framework.
Yeah.
A way to add texture and context to your story.
Exactly. Think of it as a tool for creating
Okay.
meaningful events and conflicts.
Huh?
For example, Ginny Dye talks about tying planar portals to the solstices and equinoxes. But here's the twist. The nature spirit controls access to those portals.
Okay, that's starting to sound more like something I could actually use in my writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the dates on a calendar.
Right.
It's about the consequences of those dates.
Exactly.
Like if you need to travel to another dimension, you can't just hop through a portal whenever you want. You have to wait for the right time
Right.
and then deal with whatever the nature spirit demands.
Precisely. And those demands could vary,
Okay.
depending on the spirit's current form.
Okay.
Maybe during Green Dawn, the childlike spirit simply wants a game or a song, But during ice dusk, the withered shade might require a more substantial sacrifice.
That's a great way to add tension and raise the stakes for your characters.
Right.
It's not just about getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's about navigating the complexities of this world's magic and belief system.
And it creates opportunities for really interesting
Right.
moral dilemmas.
Yeah.
Do your characters appease the spirit's hunger, even if it means betraying their own values?
Right.
Do they try to find an alternative route, even if it means risking their lives?
Suddenly, the calendar isn't just a backdrop. It's an active force in the story, shaping the character's choices and driving the plot forward.
And don't forget about the power of festivals and holidays.
Yeah.
Ginny Dai uses the Green Dawn equinox as an example of a time for celebration and revelry.
Right.
But even those joyous occasions can become sources of conflict or adventure.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine a scene where a crucial piece of information is revealed during a drunken feast,
Right.
or a long-standing rivalry erupts into a brawl during the Green Dog Games.
Those are great examples, and think about the potential for character development.
Right.
Maybe your stoic warrior lets loose and participates in a drinking contest,
Yeah.
revealing a hidden side of their personality.
Yeah.
Or perhaps your timid mage finds the courage to confess their love during a festival of romance.
I'm starting to see how this seemingly simple concept of a calendar can become such a versatile tool for writers. It's like a lens through which you can view your entire world, from grand conflicts to intimate moments of character growth.
And it adds a layer of authenticity to your world building. When your characters' lives are shaped by the rhythms of the calendar, it makes the world feel more real, more believable, and ultimately more engaging for your readers.
It's like they're actually living and breathing in this world, not just passing through it.
Right.
But what about longer-term storytelling? Can we use this calendar to create arcs
Yeah.
that span multiple months or even years?
Absolutely. Ginny Dai touches on this with her idea of a corrupted nature spirit.
Okay.
Imagine a campaign where the characters have to travel across the land, purifying each of the spirit's forms before the year ends, and the corruption spreads irrevocably.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of urgency and high stakes, and it gives you a natural framework for pacing your story, with each season bringing new challenges and revelations.
And within that overarching arc, you could have smaller storylines tied to specific events on the calendar.
Right.
Maybe a character's powers are linked to the Ice Dawn Lady and they start to lose control as the spirit becomes corrupted. Or perhaps a village is struggling to survive the harsh winter of ice dust because their offerings to the shade have been rejected.
I love how these ideas are starting to snowball. It's like we're building an entire world, one season, one festival, one ritual at a time.
And that's the power of this approach. It allows you to create a truly immersive and interconnected world,
Right.
where even something as seemingly mundane as a calendar can become a source of wonder, conflict, and endless storytelling potential.
But what if my world doesn't have traditional seasons?
Right.
Or maybe I'm writing a sci-fi story
Yeah.
set on a spaceship where time is measured in light years and interstellar cycles.
Right.
Can I still use this approach?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes, absolutely. Remember, Ginny Dai's example is just a starting point.
Right.
The key is to understand the underlying principles and adapt them to your own unique world.
So instead of green season and ice season, maybe I have cycles of light and darkness based on the orbits of two suns.
Exactly.
Or maybe my spacefaring civilization marks time by the pulsations of a nebula.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
The point is to create a system of timekeeping that feels organic to your world and reflects its unique characteristics, whether it's based on seasons, astronomical phenomena, or even magical cycles. The calendar can be a powerful tool for world building and storytelling.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the practicalities of tracking time to using the calendar to drive plot and character development.
Okay.
I'm feeling pretty inspired to go back and rework some of my own world building.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's time to distill some key takeaways for our listeners.
Absolutely. Let's recap what we've learned about using calendars in fantasy writing and how they can elevate your stories to the next level.
All right, so let's recap a little bit what we've learned about fantasy calendars and why they're so, I don't know, game-changing for writers. I think, first off, remember that a calendar is more than just a way to track time.
Right.
It's a reflection of your world's culture beliefs
Yeah.
and even its magic system.
Think about it. A calendar shapes daily life, rituals, agricultural practices,
Yeah.
everything.
It really does.
By carefully considering how your world measures time, you're essentially laying the foundation for a more believable and immersive setting.
And we can't forget about Ginny Dye's awesome concept of a nature spirit that changes with the seasons.
Mm,
It's such a clever way to tie the calendar to your world's mythology
yeah.
and create a cyclical deity that impacts every aspect of life.
That cyclicality can be really powerful, especially in fantasy writing.
Yeah.
It suggests themes of rebirth, change, and the interconnectedness of all things. It can also be a source of conflict, as we discussed, with the idea of a corrupted spirit needing to be purified.
Right. It gives you a natural framework for long-term storytelling,
Yeah.
allowing you to build entire campaign arcs or novel series around these recurring events and challenges.
And remember, you don't have to stick to the traditional 4 seasons.
Right.
Get creative, adapt the concept to fit your world's unique climate and mythology. Maybe you have cycles of light and darkness things based on the migrations of magical creatures, or even a calendar that revolves around the phases of a mystical energy source.
The key takeaway here is that the possibilities are endless, but the real magic happens when you start weaving your calendar into your narrative.
Right.
Don't just mention dates and holidays in passing. Use them to drive plot points,
Exactly.
create deadlines, and add a sense of urgency to your character's actions.
Imagine a quest that has to be completed before a certain portal opens,
Right.
or a prophecy tied to the rebirth of a deity at the winter solstice. Suddenly, the calendar becomes an active force in your story,
Yeah.
shaping the character's choices and driving them forward.
And let's not forget about the smaller details. Use the calendar to influence your character's backstories, abilities, and even their relationships with each other.
Right.
Maybe a mage's powers are strongest during a particular season,
Right.
or a warrior's sacred weapon was forged under a specific astrological alignment.
Those little details can really bring your characters to life and make them feel more connected to the world you've created. And it adds a layer of depth and realism that your readers will appreciate.
So as you embark on your next writing adventure, take some time to brainstorm your world's calendar.
Yeah.
Think about the seasons, the holidays, the myths and legends that shape its sense of time, and ask yourself, how can I use this calendar to enhance my storytelling and create a truly immersive and unforgettable experience for my readers?
Remember, even something as seemingly mundane as a calendar can be a powerful tool for world building.
It can.
It's all about using your imagination, thinking outside the box, and finding those creative sparks that make your world truly unique.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, right? Inspiring you to explore new ideas and push the boundaries of your creativity. So go forth and create amazing worlds with fascinating calendars that will captivate your readers and keep them coming back for more.